the sunshine.
Okay. Hey guys, what's going on? So welcome to Coffee Thoughts episode 34. This is actually the first time I'm doing an episode as a video as well as audio. So if you're just listening on Apple Podcast or SoundCloud, feel free to come and check out my YouTube channel, SayWeCanFly, because there's a video as well. But if you just prefer to listen, that's totally cool. It's actually something I've wanted to do for a long time. It feels really weird. Like I'm used to just like being in my car, being somewhere, and just holding my phone. But instead, I'm sitting here holding this panda mug, which actually I didn't have any coffee left. I thought I did, but this is green tea, so it'll do. I feel a little bit hypocritical though because it's coffee thoughts. You know, it's not tea thoughts. But hey, it works. So yeah, welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time listening or watching, hello. This is something I've been doing for a couple years now. I have, like I said, like 33 other episodes out, and I've talked about a lot of things, and it's just kind of always been something that I've done just like aside from music, just to kind of get other thoughts that I have out. And it's relaxing for me to do. And I guess podcasts for me are something that help me sleep and help me just kind of get my mind off certain things sometimes. So I wanted to make one, and I randomly got into it, and I'm still doing it. So my goal right now is to do one every single week, every Wednesday, an episode of Coffee Thoughts. Next time I'll actually have coffee. But I wanted to today talk about the void. And I'm going to call this episode Void Filler, I think, because it's just something that I actually made a little voice recording about while I was driving. I think last week. I think I was going to visit my mom, and I was listening to this other podcast, and she started talking about, spending money and people, trying to fill like a void, and everyone kind of has it in a different way. So I was just thinking about how I perceive that and how I relate to that in my own life. And I kind of, the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because not lately, just even over my whole life, but really more in the last couple weeks, what I've noticed. I live in the city. I live in an apartment with my friend Andrew, and I honestly, it's a great spot. It's a cozy spot. I love it. My room is super cozy. And, I have everything I need. I have, my studio, I have my camera now, Starbucks 5 minutes away. It's just there's everything I need here. And, still at night, especially at night, I find myself, just feeling feeling restless, feeling like I need to go somewhere or I need to do something. And, but then I think if I actually drove somewhere randomly, I'd be feeling good, on the drive. But then when I got there, I'd probably feel the same way. I'd be somewhere else feeling this way. So I've kind of, instead of acting on that necessarily, I've just kind of been thinking about it and trying to catch it, because I'm just trying to ask myself what is that? Why do I feel that way? So I've been thinking about that, and I think it's actually the same thing, or the same feeling, the same reason, the same emotion that people overeat or drink or watch porn, or even overwork themselves. I feel it's the same feeling of you need to feel more than you're feeling right in this moment, and then as soon as you do that thing, if you eat a whole pizza, it feels fucking great while you're eating the pizza, but then after you're oh my god, I feel even worse, or I'm right back to where I started. And I think that there's actually a lot of depth to that, and I feel that actually kind of not only describes kind of how our minds work sometimes, but also how this society's built, especially in Western culture, my side of the world, North America, and I feel most of the world, we kind of we perceive our lives and we perceive these things linear. So it's we're on this timeline of we start here and we need to get here, and then everything in the middle is just in order to get somewhere else. But the crazy thing is, and I feel let me take a sip here. feel like that's actually like a lot of like depression and anxiety is due to that, because we're always trying to fulfill ourselves, and we're always trying to get somewhere else. Like we wake up and we bank on tomorrow, we bank on a month from now, we bank on a year from now. It's like, oh, we'll be in a better spot then. And then we get to that point and we're just like, okay, maybe next year, maybe tomorrow. So it's always this kind of like carrot and a stick, you know? It's just like there's this little carrot dangling in front of our faces, we're always chasing it. And again, I feel like this comes back to like, why do I feel restless at night? Because I'm not content with where I'm at. I'm not content with the moment. I'm letting that emotion overtake me, and I'm living somewhere else in my mind instead of being here, like just right here, like just for a second, literally wherever you are, like I don't know, like just look around for a second, like take in your surroundings. You know what I mean? Like I got a salt lamp there. Got a couple pillows on my wall so for my vocals. Got a bed, candle, a little tiny Pikachu. Like there's all this space and this stuff around me, but 90% of the time I'm living in my head, thinking about what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, what I'm going to be doing in a year, and I forget that like there's this whole thing right here, like right in front of me, right beside me, all around me. Like literally, you are always the center of the entire universe. Every single person is the center of the universe. How trippy is that? But again, I think this just kind of comes back to the way that we're built and we're taught to perceive life and perceive reality, which is in a linear way. And I just think it's really interesting to think about that, because time, the way that we perceive it, really is just a concept that we've made. You know, it's a concept that we've made up, and we all kind of accept it and believe it. And I think in a way we kind of need it as human beings in order to, cope with reality and get through reality. It's just like we probably couldn't really handle it any other way. Like can you even wrap your head around like something not having a beginning and not having an end? You can't. We literally just can't do it. Our brains aren't built to understand that. So I think it's just important though to be aware of that, and be aware that like anytime you feel that like depression or anxiety, generally it's caused by you not being happy with your circumstance, or you're not being happy with what you're doing at the moment, or what's happening around you. And I think one thing that like kind of my point of this is to say like, I think the best way, especially with like negative emotions like anger, sadness, and this is something that like I've dealt with, like I've had so many moments in my life where I fall into this, and I get overtaken, is that the right word, overtaken by negative emotions or depression. Like I used to deal with that when I was a kid all the time. Like, and on my previous episode of Coffee Thoughts, I talked about the reason I started playing music was because I was running away. Like I was literally running away from my problems. And so anyway, I guess my point is like what I've learned, and as much as it's really hard to remind yourself of, even if you're not happy with where you are right at this moment, number one, remember that most of the negative scenarios are all in your head, So it's like if you're upset, not like, let's say I'm upset right now, nothing in my room changes. If I'm really happy right now, nothing in my room changes. Everything in my head changes, and it's the way that I perceive everything. But if you can just accept where you are, even if it's like a little uncomfortable, even if it's a little bit like, unsatisfying, and just like look at that emotion of, whatever you're feeling as like a separate thing, and just kind of accept it, accepting like where you are, no matter where it is, and realizing that you trying to be somewhere else is what's creating the friction and creating the problem and creating the anxiety and creating like the restlessness. Like I'm talking about this from my perspective. Like my restlessness at night is because I'm just not like accepting where I am right now. I'm just like, I need to be somewhere else. I need to work. I need to do this. Like just always feeling the need to run, always feeling the need to like be somewhere else. And I think it's so cool when you can just take a minute and just be like, you know what, I'm here. Like, okay, boys, we're here. And appreciate like the space around you, and appreciate the moment, and realize that there only ever is a moment. There only ever is this. Like in the future, it's still gonna be this. The past was this too, and I think coming back to like the void that we're always trying to fill, it can't be filled. It just can't be. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 24, and I still have that. I still have that void. If it can't be filled in 24 years, I don't think it can be filled in 50 or 100 or 200 or 1,000. Like I just feel like it's way more than that. This need to like always be somewhere else. I think it's an issue that isn't really inherent to reality. It's not inherent to being human or existing. It's something that we have built. It's something that we have shaped. Especially like if you think about like all the your upbringing, it's like you're shaped when you're a kid. So it's like if you understood things in a much different way, and if you understood all these things like and you taught a young child that would have an effect on their entire life and their entire outlook. So I feel like the way that our society brings us up is very like linear. It's like you plan for the future, think about your future, but the future is a myth. Like you can't it's not a tangible thing. Neither is the past. It's always this moment. It's literally like not a tangible thing. You can't ever be in the future. You're always just in this moment, and you always were in this moment. At this point, you can't even prove that you were ever born, because it's not happening in this moment. It's just a concept. It's just an idea, and it's just something that you assume. But you can't prove it. And you could say, well, look, like I have like my birth certificate and like people remember it and whatever, but like you can't prove it. That doesn't prove anything. You can't prove that the universe didn't pop into existence last fucking week, and that everything you think came with that, and all the things that you believe in your memories are just not real. You just can't prove that. You can't disprove that either. You know what I mean? So I just feel like there's so many things that like you just have to accept, and you have to realize like a lot of what we believe is due to the way we were brought up and the way the world runs. Like we're literally just like, as far as we know, floating on an orb in the middle of nothing, and we're worried about the stupidest shit. But just remember that you are literally the center of the whole thing. If there is a center, if there is a whole thing, I don't even know. I feel like this episode didn't quite have the structure that I was hoping. But usually when I record these, I'm just kind of all over the place anyway, and I think you probably get the point of what I'm saying. But for anyone who's not heard my other episodes, please go listen to them. And I think part of, what I was thinking about while I was, talking about this is something I also talked about in a previous episode called the strange loop. And this is a concept that I discovered through a podcast called actualize.org. And it's ever since I listened to his episode talking about this and researched it a bit on my own, I've never looked at anything the same, to be honest. And it's kind of the idea. I usually just try to articulate things as best that I can. Like it's not my information, it's not my knowledge. I just pass it along and try to repeat it. But it's basically the idea that non-existence is also part of existence. Because you literally cannot have non-existence without the contrast of something existing, so therefore it's within existence. And if something were to have created reality or create existence, that thing, even if it didn't exist, would still exist. But because it created reality, or because it created life or whatever, so God or whatever, just whatever you want to call it, therefore, like, it exists, so it's part of itself. It's part of reality. It's part of existence. It's a strange loop. Like it's bottomless. The layers keep going and going and going. And there's no logical conclusion for it. And that shit tripped me out so hard. And I've never looked at anything the same, I don't think, since then. And I've really kind of just thought about a lot of things in a different way as far as like being human and creating concepts, and how like a lot of the way that I look at life, and I think most of us look at life, is really just a concept and labeling things and assuming things, and not like just basically taking a belief about something and putting it on a shelf and be like, it's okay, like that's the way it is, and never like going back and pulling those off and being like, wait a minute, like does this make sense, like can I really prove this, you know what I mean, like just things like that. And again, I think it's just really important to fill your head with questions and fill your head with, things like that. And just, at least for me, it's helped me a lot, just like being open, because anytime I'm in a situation where it's like, oh my god, like I just feel so like lost right now, I feel so like restless, I just want to like run away, or I just want to like have a drink or whatever, it's like I can be like, wait a minute, like what is that? That's not me. That's something that's infecting my space, my bubble. And you can kind of be like, hey buddy, like I see you, you know what I mean? And you see that aspect of yourself, and the moment you put light on it, it's like if someone's trying to steal something from you, like let's say somebody's trying to steal money from you, like if you're turned around, not paying attention, talking to other people, yeah, they can steal your money and you'll never know. But if you're staring right at them, they're not going to be able to steal your money. You know what I mean? It's the same, I think, as like looking at your emotions and looking at your ego. It's like the moment you like are like, hey, I know you're there. Like I am aware of you. It's like frozen. It's like, what's it going to do? Like pretend that it's you and try to, get you to act a certain way. It's like the more you try to remind yourself of that, the more you automatically catch yourself and catch that part of yourself. And the fact that you can actually, look at that, look at your emotions. Like if you can just say, I know how I feel right now, there's 3 layers. You know that you know how you feel. Like there's three layers looking at one another. It's like how you feel, you looking at it because you know how you feel, and then somehow you know that you know how you feel. And it keeps going and going. It's also a strange loop, you know what I mean? It's just like there's so much, goddamn, there's so much depth, like so much depth. And yeah, I don't know. Hopefully this made sense. I kind of like try to combine a lot into this because I know some people probably have never heard my podcast. And yeah, I mean, I think from here on out, the episodes are probably gonna, they're definitely gonna have more structure, and they're gonna have more concise, clear themes like they usually have before. But today I just kind of wanted to sit down, see what came out, and just kind of get some people like familiar with the kind of stuff that I talk about. And what I would really like as well, if you guys can, leave a comment. Let me know any topics you want me to talk about, any questions that you have that would be interesting to talk about, or you want to hear my thoughts on. Because my goal with Copy Thoughts is really just to pass on my knowledge, pass on the things that I've like learned or observed over the years, and like just give you things to think about. I don't want to make you believe anything. I don't want to change your mind about anything. I'm not here to try to persuade you about anything. I'm simply here to be like, hey, like have you ever thought about this? Like it's trippy, like, or hey, maybe if you look at things from this perspective, it might help you, or change how you feel about something. Because I think that's really what life is about, is like realizing it's all completely perspective. Like think of this, like how can there be anything without there being something to perceive that thing? It's the same as like, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? I don't know, probably not. Hey guys, so unfortunately my camera literally just died, and I want to finish this, so I'm using my phone, which I think is kind of cool, whatever. But what I wanted to say is that there has to be a perceiver in order for there to be an object. So the fact that reality can only ever be observed from first person. So the only thing that you're ever going to know, the only perspective you're ever going to know is your own. As far as you know, everything else is inside your perspective. Anything in reality, it can't be observed by anything from any perspective except its own. You know what I mean? Like every single thing this is so hard to word sometimes, but single thing within existence is experiencing reality via its own first person perspective. So reality is only ever a first-person perspective. So one trippy thing that I just kind of want to leave you guys with is, if you die, does anything actually exist? Because you're the only thing that's perceiving it. Even if you say, well, there's other people that are perceiving it, those people are still within your perception. They're still within your experience. So you can't really, there's no way to really prove that they're outside of your own experience, because there is no such thing as outside of your own experience when you think about it. There's just not. Because everything that you think is outside of your experience is still within your experience and your thoughts and your mind. It's fucking trippy. So, who knows? That's another thing, though, too. It's like you can't really prove death. As much as you can't prove that you were born, you can't prove death, because you're never going to know. You're never going to actually experience it. You don't experience death. So after you die, you don't experience it. So, in a way, it doesn't really exist. And, what if it's always just an illusion of some kind? Like you can't disprove it. As far as I know. If you think you can, leave me a comment. Anyway, I like to kind of leave you guys some trippy thoughts, and please come back next week. leave a comment. Let me know what you want me to talk about. Yeah, come back next week for the next episode. Every Wednesday, Coffee Thoughts, and then every Friday, a new video. So let me know. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I love you. And if you're just listening, thanks for listening. I love you too. Stay cozy. And new music is coming soon. I'm working on a new EP right now. And I'm rebuilding the SayWeCanFly smartphone app as well, which is cool. I can't wait. So yeah, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss a video. And share this video with somebody that you think might vibe with it or enjoy it. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.